Alrighty, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started. If any people leak in, we'll go ahead and let them on, get them caught up. My name is Brooke Gold. I am a BCBA in the Wilkes-Barre area, and I'm working with Lindsay and Parenting Autism to provide some parent trainings on relevant topics to anyone who's interested. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I should be able to see that. If not, you can share it in the chat, and I'll try to review that as often as I can. We are going to go over toilet training from the very beginning to the very end. And then at the very end of the presentation, there are some updates for anyone who visited and was present for the first round. If not, no big deal. You'll get some additional updates at the very end. All right, to get started. Okay, so we will, let me move this over. Okay, so today we are going to do an introduction of toilet training. Why is it important? We are going to talk about arranging the bathroom to make it as fun as possible for your kiddo to want to be toilet trained. We're going to talk about flooding. We're going to break down all the details of toilet training. We're going to specifically talk about boys and toilet training. And then at the very end, we're going to start talking about bowel movements. Okay, so the first question we want to ask before we start toilet training our kiddos is we want to know if they are ready, and we also want to know if we as the parent or we as the person providing the toilet training is ready to begin. So for the children, we want to see if they are showing signs that they are ready to be toilet trained. So some of the common things to look for to tell if your child is ready for toilet training is, do they notice any changes in their diaper condition? So do they visibly respond to their diaper being wet versus their diaper being dry? Do they notice those changes? Same thing, if they have poop in their diaper, do they notice that and maybe they want to take it off, or they're trying to mess around with it? Are they showing signs that they know that there's something different about their diaper than when it was first put on dry and clean? Do they show any other interest in self-care or in toileting? Do they go to the bathroom? Do they play with the toilet? Do they try to take their pants on and off? Are they interested in other self-care routines, like maybe brushing their teeth, washing their hands, anything that is correlated to them taking care of themselves? Another thing is, are they able to transport themselves to and from the bathroom? If your kiddo cannot crawl, if your kiddo cannot walk, if your kiddo does not have some reliable form to get themselves to and from the bathroom, then there's no point in starting toilet training because they can't even get there if they need to go. Another thing is the child able to sit for a few minutes at a time? That could be at a table, that could be on the couch. Just, are they able to sit still for a few minutes, anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes? If they're able to sit that long, then they are showing signs that they are ready to start toilet training. Another thing is checking to see if they have consistent voids and bowel movements. Now, consistent doesn't mean that they go at 3 o'clock every single day. It doesn't mean that they pee 4 times during the day. It just means, are they going consistently? Are they not having days on end where they're not going to the bathroom at all? Just making sure that their movements are somewhat consistent and that they are having the movements. Another thing, apart from your kiddo being ready, are you ready to dedicate all of that time and all of those resources and all of that energy to teach your child to become toilet trained? And if the answer is no, that is completely okay. That's just a good sign that it's not time to start toilet training if you are not ready as well. All right, so now we're going to go into some details about why toilet training is so important. So toilet training is, of course, an important step in personal independence. What that means is that they are no longer completely reliant on someone else to take care of them. They have increased independence. Also, toilet training will save time and it will save money to the parents because you're not having to buy boxes and boxes and boxes of diapers, which we all know can be very expensive. Having a child who is independent in toilet training will open the door for both social and personal opportunities. So going into some details, a lot of schools and a lot of daycare programs, aftercare programs require children to be toilet trained. There are lots of places, regardless of a diagnosis, that they can still turn you down if you are not toilet trained. So that is a huge opportunity for your kiddos and a huge reason for your kiddos to be toilet trained, so they can go to school and then go to all these fun daycare programs. Another thing is social outings. If you want to go out to eat at a restaurant, if you want to take them to the park, anything outside of the home, their child needs to be toilet trained so that way they can go to the bathroom when they need to. And also with your child being toilet trained, they have that confidence to try different daily living skills. If they're toilet trained, maybe they're willing to try taking baths by themselves. Maybe they're ready to try brushing their teeth on their own. Starting with toilet training gives them the confidence to try other things on their own. And so the bottom bullet I have, which we will go into greater detail later on in the presentation, is I want everyone to take a moment to just think about the difficulties faced by parents and individuals who are unable to be toilet trained or who are unable to complete toilet training independently. So from my experience, I've worked in clinics where we have adults 18 plus who are not toilet trained, and that requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of like patience, and it requires a lot more work in order to take an 18-year-old or a grown adult to the bathroom. There's a lot more conflicts of ethics and personal boundaries that you have to run into. Same thing for kiddos who are a little bit younger, like even if they're 10 years old, or if they're 8 years old and they're not toilet trained, that makes things more difficult. And so again, we will go into a little bit more detail later on, but I want you guys to just think about the side effects of a kiddo not being toilet trained. It makes it harder on the kiddo, and it definitely makes it harder on the caretaker, the adult, the therapist, the parent, whoever is taking them to and from the bathroom. Okay, so now we're going to start breaking down all of the parts of toilet training. So the first thing is the bathroom. You have to make the bathroom as fun as possible. So we're going to talk about some basic materials that every parent should try to use when toilet training, just to make it more fun for the kiddo. So just the few lists of toilet training materials that we need are a cushioned toilet seat, because your kiddo is going to be sitting on the toilet for several minutes a day. Nobody wants to sit on that hard toilet seat because it's not enjoyable, not even to us. Another thing is if your kiddo is a little bit too short and they can't fully sit on the toilet by themselves, get them a footstool or a ladder so that way they can climb on the toilet without your assistance. Another thing is we're going to have a towel or blanket just to mimic the feeling of a diaper. Some other things we're going to include are toys and items that are specifically for the kiddo in the bathroom. And last thing, especially for the parents, we want to make sure that there are cleaning supplies available and there are clean clothes for the kiddo and for you in the bathroom. That way, if anything were to happen, if there are any accidents, you are ready to go, wipe it up real quick, change your clothes, change their clothes, you're ready to move on. Another thing that a lot of parents have questions about and that I want to talk about briefly is making sure that you're using a real toilet for toilet training. The only reason I say that is if you teach your kiddo to go to the bathroom on a toy toilet, you're then going to have to teach them to go on a real toilet to mitigate those the extended time, to mitigate any issues with transitioning from the little toy toilet to the grown adult toilet. Just start off with a regular toilet, and you can add that footstool so they can get up there safely. I also want you guys to have a basket of toys or items that are only used for toilet training. So the basket can be in the bathroom at all times, and they're only for the designated times that you're toilet training. So if you toilet train your kiddo from 3 o'clock p.m. to 5 o'clock p.m., 3 to 5 o'clock p.m. is the only time they can have that basket of toys. And it can be some of their favorite toys. It can be some of their favorite snacks. It can be their tablet. So that way they are in the bathroom watching their tablet if they want to. And outside of the bathroom, they still can't have those items. That basket of toys is only for the bathroom to make the bathroom and make working and toilet training more reinforcing for the kiddo. And leading on to that, I want you guys to select a reward for when the child successfully used the toilet. So that reward can be a brand new toy. That reward can be 10 minutes on their tablet. That reward can be their favorite snack, their favorite drink. It doesn't matter what the item is, just that the item is only available when the child uses the bathroom. So that means, again, if you're only toilet training from 3 to 5, they still can't have that reward at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. That reward is only designated for when they use the bathroom, no other times. And then again, parents, please make sure you guys have cleaning supplies and clean clothes ready for both you and your child. Most likely, they're going to have accidents, and you are also going to have a couple accidents on you as well. Make it a little bit easier on yourself and have clean clothes ready. Okay, so another thing we're going to talk about is flooding. Flooding is just a fancy word, a fancy phrase to say give your child lots and lots of liquids. So to increase the opportunities for toilet training, you need to increase the amount of liquids consumed. I'm not going to ask you to flood your child from 8 a.m. when they wake up to 8 o'clock p.m. when they go to sleep. Just make sure you're increasing their liquids during the time that you're toilet training. So if you decide you're going to toilet train your kiddo from 6 o'clock at night until 8 o'clock when they go to bed, from 6 to 8, make sure they're drinking more and more liquids. It doesn't matter what type of liquid it is. It can be milk, it can be soda, it can be water. It doesn't matter, just as long as they're drinking more liquids during the toilet training time. Additionally, give them some salty snacks so that way they are more likely and more willing to drink water. If your mouth is all salty, nice and dry, you're going to drink more water. So that'll also help you give your child more liquids. And again, flooding should only be utilized during the designated toilet training time. And it doesn't matter what liquid you use, just give them some liquids. Okay, so now we're going to start breaking down the time intervals. The time intervals increase 5 minutes per interval, just so it's very gradual. It's not a huge jump, so that way the kiddo has more time to succeed. It's very gradual. The child will gradually progress through the intervals, and it reduces the risks of accidents. So to make everything easy, we're going to start off at 10 minutes. Everyone starts off at 10 minutes. And by the time they can get all the way to 1.5 hours, then essentially toilet training is pretty much done for the kiddo. Those are the intervals we're going to work on. At 1.5 hours, they should be okay to fade away from the intervals and just work on it throughout the day. Now we're going to talk about breaking down the toilet training procedure. So with this version of toilet training, it is a combination of all of the best tricks that I know and all of the best tricks in the research and literature that says how to create an effective toilet training procedure. I've also made this as simple as possible so that way you guys as parents can come home from a long day at work and still be able to follow the routine. If the routine was too hard, if the teaching was too complicated, you guys wouldn't want to do it and you guys would not have success. So I've really tried to make it as simple as possible. So the toilet training procedure, we're going to start off by setting a timer for the current toilet training step. So like everyone, we're going to start off at 10 minutes. You're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. At the halfway mark, which will be 5 minutes, you're going to complete a dry pants check. All that means is you're going to tap around your kiddo, around their pants, around their bottom to check if they're wet. If they are wet, you're going to give a very vague statement. You're going to say, we pee and potty, we're wet, let's go to the bathroom. Something very neutral so that way your kiddo knows they're not in trouble. You're just stating what happened. You're wet, let's go potty. If they are dry at the halfway mark check, you're going to wait until the timer goes off. Again, if they're wet at the halfway mark, make a general statement and bring them to the bathroom. When the timer goes off, we're going to say time to go potty, and we're going to walk to the bathroom. Again, time to go potty, you can make it whatever phrase you want to, just make it clear and simple for your kiddo. Ideally, if your kiddo is able to communicate, have them repeat the statement that you say, just so that way you're slowly working on them also telling you they have to go to the bathroom. But them being able to speak, them being able to tell you they have to go to the bathroom is not important. It's not necessary for the kiddo to start working on toilet training. When the timer goes off, you're going to bring the child to the bathroom and they're going to sit on the toilet for 3 to 5 minutes. Ideally, 3 minutes is the minimum we want them to sit, and then 5 minutes is, of course, the maximum. Try to get them to sit anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes, which is, again, why we want them to have a nice, comfortable seat, because sitting for 5 minutes multiple times within an hour, that's a lot of work. And it's not very comfortable. So while your kiddo is sitting, give them access to that basket of toys in the bathroom. That way they're entertained, and that way they're willing to sit longer, like those 3 minutes or up to 5 minutes in the bathroom. But do not give them access to the reward until they use the bathroom. If they pee during that 3 to 5 minutes, give them the reward. If they don't, that's okay. They have that basket of toys they can play with. If the child uses the toilet, praise them, give them a great party, and just let them know how proud you are of them. Let them know that they're doing the correct thing, and also give them that reward. Whatever that designated reward is, give it to them so that way they know when I poo in the potty, I get this amazing reward. But that's the only time I get it right now. If the child does not use the toilet, that's okay. We're not going to punish them. We're not going to say that they've done anything wrong, because they haven't. They're still learning. So if the child does not use the toilet, say in a neutral voice, remember, we go pee and potty or something similar, and you're going to reset the timer. So you're going to repeat the step of 10 minutes. All right, so that's the general layout of how we're going to do toilet training. Now we're going to go into increasing or decreasing time. So if your kiddo has 3 consecutive successes or 3 consecutive dry intervals, which means they don't have any accidents, they may or may not go pee in the potty, you're going to move on to the next time interval. So if you're starting off with 10 minutes, they do 10 minutes, they're dry. Another 10 minutes, they're dry. A third time, 10 minutes and they're dry, you're going to move them up to 15 minutes. There is a toilet training sheet, which we'll go on and talk about in the next slide to help you stay on track. And then another thing is so say you end at 8 o'clock tonight with toilet training. Tomorrow, when you start it up, you're going to pick up exactly where you left off. So if you ended today at 35 minutes, tomorrow you're going to start at 35 minutes. That way you're continuing the process and you're not starting over. If your kiddo has 3 consecutive accidents, which means they peed before they went to the bathroom, then you change them, they peed again before they got to the bathroom. Third time, they pee before you take them to the bathroom, you're going to move back in time. So let's say they were at 35 minutes and then they have 3 accidents back to back to back. You're going to bump them down to 30 minutes. That's okay. They are just telling you with their body that, hey, I can't handle 35 minutes. I need to take a step back. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If your child stays on the current time interval for a few days, that's okay. That's what they are learning. That's what they're doing really well at. It's okay if they don't jump up every single day. If a child increases and decreases and they're all over the place, again, that is okay. They are making progress at their own pace. Toilet training is going to look different on everyone, so it doesn't really matter how long it takes them. It doesn't matter if it's up and down. That's okay. They're still making their progress. So this is the data collection sheet that I talked about previously. So I've made this data sheet as simple as possible so that way it's easy for you to use. If you decide not to use the data sheet, that's okay, but this will help you stay on track. So we have the date and time. So let's say we're starting today, March 22nd. We're going to start at 6 o'clock. So you would fill in the date, and then we will start at the time interval of 10 minutes. After every 10 minutes, you're going to mark if it's a success or if it's an accident. So if the kiddo pees on the toilet, great, it's a success. If your kiddo has an accident, you're going to mark it as an accident. And you're also going to mark which 10-minute trial is it. Is it the first one? Is it the second one? Is it the third one? If there's more than 3 trials, that's okay. Just write in what it is. This helps you stay on track. So when you have 3 successes in a row, you're going to bump up 5 minutes. If you have 3 accidents in a row, you're going to subtract and you go down 5 minutes. That's okay. And again, let me go back. Okay. So I also have an end time at the very bottom for you, so that way you can write down what time you ended at today, so that we also know what time to start at tomorrow. Again, if you end today at 35 minutes, you're going to refer to the end time for tomorrow, and you're going to start the time interval at 35 minutes. At the very bottom, I just have a quick few reminders for you just to keep you on track if you just have the data sheet in front of you and you don't have time to go look at the slideshow again. That's okay. So start each day at the time interval ended on the previous day. After 3 successes or 3 trials without accidents, go up 5 minutes. If there's 3 accidents back to back to back, decrease by 5 minutes. That's okay. Another thing that I want to just give a little bit more information on is if your kiddo starts having an accident in the kitchen, but they make it to the bathroom and finish peeing in the potty, count that as a success. And you can also count it as an accident, just so you know, but you can still count it as a success, and it will be 1 successful trial out of the 3. I do know that sometimes kiddos will start having an accident, realize what's happening, make their way to the bathroom. So I want to go ahead and answer that question in case it does happen to you guys. All right, so now we're going to talk about boys and toilet training. Boys have different parts than females do, so they may need an extra step. That's okay. So with the boys, whenever they're ready or whenever you feel that they're ready, let's start working on them standing to void. If you don't feel like it's necessary, you don't really care if your kiddo stands to pee or he sits to pee, that's okay. I'm just giving you the option if you do want your kiddo to stand to pee. So at the end of toilet training, whenever you are ready, begin teaching the boy to stand up before peeing. So if you have a male family member or a male friend that you trust and you feel is appropriate, have that male show your child how to stand and pee. It's just as simple as it sounds. Have both of them go to the bathroom, have the male show your little child how to pee in the toilet, so that way they can at least see it in case there's like the woman's not going to be able to tell him and show him how to stand up and pee in the toilet. We don't have those body parts. If there's a male unavailable, that's also okay. You can have the boy stand next to the toilet and try to help him aim and stand and pee in the toilet. There also are some items that you can purchase or items that you can use to help with aiming and help with peeing in the toilet. So first, you can just simply assist with aiming. That can be they are holding on to themselves and you're having your hands over their hands so that way you're not touching them. Of course, if it's your child, you can make that call on what is appropriate for you and them. And you can help them aim. What you can also do is you can have things that are flushable and floating for the kiddo to aim at. So an example that we probably all have in our pantry, throw a couple pieces of cereal in the toilet and have your kiddo try to pee on the cereal so that way they're aiming in the toilet and not spraying all over the bathroom. Another thing that you can do is you can cut the tip off of a paper cup. You can slide the cup over the child's penis and then you can have them aim by holding onto the cup so that they would get it into the toilet. Also, you can use a urinal, which if there's one available, if there's one in the community that you're able to access, cool, try one of those. If not, this picture on the bottom right, that is a handheld urinal where you stick inside and then you pour it out at the very end. Or there are some that have the bottom that opens up so that way you slide in, hold on, and the pee goes all the way through. Those are a couple options for the boys. Luckily for the girls, they don't have to worry about this. All right, now we're going to start talking about bowel movements and toilet training because that is another step of toilet training, which is a little bit different. So for the teaching steps of bowel movements is the same thing. We're going to have the bathroom be as fun as possible. You can play music. You can have videos in the bathroom. You can bring as many toys in the bathroom as you want, as long as they are the designated bathroom toys. You're going to provide lots of praise, lots of attention for any time the kiddo is in the bathroom. So to teach the child to have a bowel movement in the bathroom, we're going to start by just having them have the movement in the bathroom. So that means if they are in a diaper and they're giving you signs that they're trying to poop, bring them to the bathroom and have them poop in their diaper in the bathroom. That's okay. They are learning that we poop in the bathroom instead of we poop in the kitchen, we poop in our bedroom. No, we're changing it up to you're going to poop in the bathroom, even if it's in your diaper, that's okay. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to teach your child to take off their pants and have a bowel movement in the bathroom. Again, if they're pooping in their diaper, that's okay. They're still learning the process of you take your pants off and you poop in the bathroom. The third step is, the fourth step is we are going to teach the child to sit on the toilet and have a bowel movement. Again, if they are in their, if they're in their diaper, that's okay. Have them sit on the toilet in their diaper and have a bowel movement in the bathroom on the toilet. Next step is we're going to cut a hole in the child's underwear or their diaper, whichever one you prefer. Have the child sit on the toilet and have a bowel movement. With the hole in the underwear or the diaper, they're going to feel safe and secure because they have that feeling of the diaper on their waist, but the poop will just fall right out. So that way they are having that practice of sitting on the toilet, pooping on the toilet. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to teach the child to take off their pants, take off their underwear, and they're going to sit on the toilet for bowel movements. The reason that this one is broken down the way that it is we can't control bowel movements as easily as we can control urinary voids. With urinary voids, if you just give them a lot of liquids, they are going to have to pee. There's not a lot you can do with bowel movements except for giving them a high fiber diet. But even then, that's not going to tell you that in 30 minutes after having a fiber snack, that they're going to go to the bathroom. Bowel movements are not as easy to predict. And of course, with bowel movements, we have to talk about wiping. So some children do not like to wipe themselves following a bowel movement. So here's a simple procedure to promote that independence of wiping. So the teaching steps is you're going to get the toilet paper. You're going to collect the paper in your hand. So whatever your method is, if it's wrapping the toilet paper around the hand, if it's folding the toilet paper, or if it's just grabbing a handful of toilet paper, that's okay. Just teach the child to get the toilet paper. Then what you're going to do is you're going to have them wipe between their butt cheeks and they're going to check for cleanliness. If it is dirty, then they need to wipe again. They're going to repeat steps 1 through 4 to see if they're clean. If they are clean after the wipe, you're going to move on to step 5. So they're going to wipe, check and see if it's clean. If it's clean, they're going to throw the toilet paper in the toilet, flush the toilet, pull up their pants and underwear, and then they're going to wash their hands. So I'll quickly go over this because we do have a little bit more to go over. But with toilet training is unique to the person. Everyone's toilet training experience is going to be different, which means you need to personalize the toilet training experience to your child. So if your child loves bubbles, use bubbles during their toilet training. If your child hates bubbles, don't use bubbles during the toilet training. Use whatever is going to work for your child. And at any point during the toilet training procedure, if you as the parent or the child is unable to continue toilet training, then take a break. It's not that you're giving up, you're just taking a break and you're going to try again when you're better prepared. It's okay to take those breaks. Even as parents, it's okay to say, you know what, this isn't working right now. Something else is going on. Let's take a pause. We'll come back in a little bit. All right, so I'm going to open the floor for any questions. If you have any questions, there should be a button for you to raise your hand. If not, you can throw it in the chat and I'll leave it open for like a minute or two so that way you can type out your messages, speak your messages, or raise your hand and I'll try to figure out how to do that.
Any questions?
Not yet. Have you received anything?
No.
Okay, perfect. I'll just give everyone like a minute and then we'll hop on to the other half of the toilet training.
Some great ideas that have not been a part of other trainings that I've been to. And just hearing them again, blowing my mind.
Okay, if there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and start moving on. Again, if you have questions later on, please feel free to reach out. I will get those answered as quickly as I can. Okay. So, like I said, this is the second half of the toilet training. This is the update. And since we're started off from the very beginning, we're just going to keep on going. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some statistics about toilet training, just because some people understand how relevant and how important toilet training is based off of numbers. Some people need more of the personal experiences. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of both. So for most individuals diagnosed with autism or another developmental delay, any other type of intellectual disability, toilet training is a huge obstacle that they may have to face. But although it's an obstacle, it is still a very important part of that child's or that individual's development. Toilet training is an absolute necessity for everyone and anyone. So some statistics, children diagnosed with autism typically master toilet training by 3 years old, 35% of the time. However, children without an autism diagnosis master the skill 98% of the time by 3 years old. So there is a massive gap between children diagnosed and children not diagnosed. Of course, this is just a statistic. It does not mean that you cannot teach your child toilet training by 3 years old. If they're older than that, that's okay. That doesn't mean that they can't be taught toilet training. Again, children diagnosed, 50% of children diagnosed will struggle with toilet training in some capacity. For children who are not diagnosed, only 5 to 10% of them struggle with toilet training. Again, you can see the huge gap that there are a lot of obstacles for children diagnosed with toilet training that children not diagnosed do not experience. On average, for children diagnosed with any type of disability or delay, takes about 1.5 years to learn toilet training. Again, for children who are not diagnosed, there's not an exact number, an exact statistic of how long it takes them, but in general, it's easier and they experience less difficulties with toilet training. For children not diagnosed, specifically girls, girls tend to master the skill 2 to 3 months earlier than boys. We kind of discussed that on the first half of toilet training because girls, they sit on the toilet and they learn how to go to the bathroom from there. Boys, they sit on the toilet to make the process easier. And then they have that transition where they now start learning to stand. So that's an additional step for the boys that the girls do not have to face. And again, I wanted to give you guys more statistics. This is just a table of some results from a study that discussed toilet training for children in school, 5 years or younger with various disabilities or developmental steps. So there are 2 kiddos in this scenario who were diagnosed with autism, and then there are 3 with an unspecified developmental delay. So in this study, the children were in school and that's all they worked on. They only worked on toilet training, and it followed a very similar toilet training procedure that I gave, where they sat on the toilet various points of the day for 3 to 5 minutes. In school, with someone designated with them to solely work on toilet training, it took kiddos between 32 and 88 school days to master toilet training. They also broke it down into calendar days just to help everyone understand exactly how long that takes. It took about around 4 months to almost half a year for them to learn toilet training. So again, kiddos with a diagnosis, it does take them longer to become toilet trained. And I also want to give you guys some dates and a timeline so that you understand 2 weeks into toilet training and they're not picking up the skill. That's okay. It takes kiddos a while to learn toilet training. So I wanted to give you guys some numbers. You can see the kiddos' age ranges a little bit. You can see their diagnosis ranges a little bit, and it still takes them a long time to master toilet training. So I hope that seeing these numbers helps you understand that it is a lengthy process. It varies kiddo by kiddo, and that it's okay if you're struggling with it. It's not easy. Another thing I want to talk about is the parent's responsibility of toilet training. Often with kiddos with a disability, they are designated to someone else to teach them the toilet training skills. So most often it is a caretaker who is teaching a child toilet training. It is a teacher at school that is teaching the child toilet training. It is designated therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, behavior technicians, or other types of therapists who are teaching the kiddo toilet training. But there's a couple things that I want to discuss when it comes to parents' responsibility. So although teaching toilet training is a team effort, I wanted to break down the amount of time that children are spending their time with therapists versus their parents or their primary caretaker. So if a child is receiving the maximum amount of hours allowed by insurance, which is about 40 hours a week, that is only 23% of a child's week is spent with a therapist. That means even with the maximum amount of hours possible, a therapist can only work on toilet training 23% of the child's day, 23% of the child's week. So that is a vast majority of the time. It is still with the parent or the primary caregiver that the child is with, and that the parent or caregiver needs to work on those skills. It is a very small amount of time that the child is with a therapist who can designate time to work on toilet training skills. And to put it very bluntly, therapists are only affected with their kiddo not being able to be toilet trained or not having that skill during the work hours with your child. If they are with your child for 4 hours, then that is 4 hours that they have to designate their time to work on toilet training. Versus you guys as the parents, as the caregivers, you have the full 24 hours every single day that you have to worry about your kiddo maybe not having that skill. And again, the therapists are only affected by that when they're with your child. When they are with another child, they're not worried about it. When they're at home, they're not worried about it. But as the parent, you are directly affected by the skill deficits. So what that means is that you guys are spending the materials of working through toilet training. If that means you're still stuck on diapers, that's okay, but that's all of your money being spent on diapers. If you are paying for a babysitter to work on toilet training 2 hours a day, that is your money where you are paying a babysitter to provide toilet training 2 hours a day. Again, that goes into cleaning. Every time your kiddo has an accident, that is 5-10 minutes of your day that you are working on cleaning up the accident. On top of that, you have to change your child. They just had an accident. You have to change their clothes. That's another 5 minutes where you are changing their clothes on top of the 5 to 10 minutes of cleaning. If you're working with other therapists and you have lots of meetings to go to discuss where's your child struggling at with toilet training, where are they making progress, and that's more time out of your schedule that you are meeting to discuss toilet training. If you're taking your child to and from a clinic or to and from a specific therapist, that is your time, your gas money that you are spending to get your child to work on toilet training. Again, you are also working on adjusting your life around the fact that your kiddo is not toilet trained. So if you want to go out to dinner with your whole family and have a nice little dinner, you have to worry about your child being toilet trained. What if they have an accident at the restaurant? What do you do then? Are you going to have to take 10-15 minutes to go to a new bathroom where the toilets are flushing? Your kiddo may not be okay with people coming in and out of the bathroom to change them. That is you having to plan that into your trip. And very bluntly, there's a lot of stress that comes into teaching your child to be toilet trained. There's a lot of stress with spending all that money and all of that time. There's a lot of stress with changing up your plans to fit your kiddo and their ability to go to the bathroom on their own. That is all your responsibility. You are spending the vast majority of your child's life with them. So we really need to have parents as on board as possible. It cannot be designated to another person because the other person is not around long enough to really make an impact. Okay. And like I talked about very briefly, there are some harsh realities of being an individual without toilet training skills. So it's not going to be fun, but I will go through it very briefly just so you guys have some basic facts. So there are physical and mental consequences of your kiddo not being toilet trained. So the physical consequences is that they do not have that ability to control their bladder and bowel movements. When they don't have that ability to control their movements, it causes higher rates of urinary tract infections on top of other things. Mentally, psychologically, if a kiddo is not toilet trained, it can have some damage to the child's self-confidence, their image, and it can interfere with their personality. And it also causes higher rates of overdependence on an adult to take care of them, especially for kiddos who are surrounded by other kiddos who are toilet trained. If your kiddo were to have an accident around kiddos who are fully toilet trained, that can negatively affect the kiddo's confidence. You don't know what the other kiddos are saying. There may be instances of bullying. And so that's all going to negatively affect your kiddo. Some professional and some of my professional experiences, I'll go into a couple scenarios. So I had previously worked with an older girl. She was 16 years old and she was still not toilet trained. And at 16 years old, she was starting to hit puberty. She was having her menstrual cycle every month. And so every time it came time for her to go to the bathroom, there were 2 adults with her in the bathroom. We were helping her pull off her adult diaper because she was older and bigger, so she had to wear adult diapers. We had to help her change out of her adult diaper. We had to help her wipe herself. We had to help her stay clean during her times of being on her period. And that was all very uncomfortable for everyone involved. Typically with children, it's a little bit easier to work with, but when you have essentially a grown adult and you're still having to wipe them because toilet training was never prioritized with them, it definitely makes you take a step back and it is harder. I've also worked with another kiddo who parents never wanted their kiddo to be toilet trained. So at this time, they were 10 years old and they had never been toilet trained. And the reason parents did not want them toilet trained is it just took too much time. So for this kiddo, we had to take her to the bathroom. We had to do the same thing. We had adult diapers, we had a wiper, we had a cleaner. She was uncomfortable with it. We were uncomfortable with it. And unfortunately for this kiddo, because of the constant diapers and the various caregivers that she often came down with UTIs. And again, this is something that could have been avoided if she wasn't in a diaper. But of course, That's just one of the scenarios. Those are two scenarios where kiddos were much older than they need to be, and they didn't have the toilet training skills. They required a lot of assistance, and it's something that really needs to be prioritized. So that way you're not opening up the potential risks with a kiddo being in the bathroom with grown adults because they're not toilet trained. So I'm going to go into this one very briefly. Children diagnosed with an intellectual disability are 4 times more likely to be the victims of sexual assault, with up to 78% of autistic individuals experiencing sexual assault during their lifetime. Again, when is the best? Not the best time, but for anyone who wanted to sexual assault, the time to do it is when they're in a bathroom where no one's around, no one's looking, you're in the privacy of a stall. And if your kiddo is not able to talk about it, if your kiddo is not able to even understand that this is not okay, that's opening up the door for them to experience assault and make their life much harder than it already is.
Largest fear of all of our lives.
Absolutely. So that is wrapping up toilet training. So again, I want you guys to understand that toilet training is a necessary part of everyone's development. Imagine your life if you were not toilet trained. How would you go to work every day? How would you take yourself to and from work? It makes life a lot harder. And especially the girls, you have a lot more stuff you have to worry about. So even though individuals diagnosed with autism may have a harder time with toilet training, that doesn't mean that it's impossible for them to learn the skill or that they can't learn the skill. They absolutely can. And I have so many success stories with various kiddos, various abilities that have learned to go to the bathroom on their own. It's very possible. It may take a while, and that's okay. It may be harder, but again, that's okay. It is so, so necessary for your kiddo to be toilet trained. And I did share some research with you guys. I did share some statistics, and there is significant harm to individuals if they are not independent toilet trained in all areas of their life, in social situations, in personal situations, health, mental health. There are lots of negative effects of toilet training that we can all avoid by just having the kiddos toilet trained. And again, I'm going to open up the floor to any questions. If you have any questions, raise your hand. I'll try to find you. If you want to throw it in the chat, throw it in the chat. If you want to just talk it out loud, go ahead. And I'll open the floor for a few minutes. Do you have any questions from anyone who's attending? Or do you have any questions?
Being here at the office and having all ages and all abilities, it's not just for autism, it's for any type of developmental delay or even just, anxiety. You never know if it's going to help anyone. It's always open.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get to see the full range. I get to see kiddos who are potty training or, still working on it, adults in the same boat. And it really is, it's restraining. I've had people stop here just to use the bathroom so that they could change their client.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you're limited when you're in the community of who's going to be nice to you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't have to leave, but if you do, if this is a safe place for that, so be it.
Yeah.
And I was happy because they've never been here before and they've never been here since. They stopped that day just to change their client who had an accident on the van.
Yeah.
But they were trying to get back to the office and they just didn't make it in time.
Yeah.
And thank God that they were preserving his dignity and got him in and got him changed. And if nothing else, I helped them out that day. By just being here.
Yeah, and I'm sure they completely remember that and are able to say like, hey, we were able to walk in this building and get that privacy, get that dignity, get that respect.
Understanding.
Yes, exactly.
And a safe place. So, I mean, it is hard. It's hard for young parents with young children. It would just be that much more difficult with an adult who's
absolutely
may be combative or, you
Mhm.
know, sick.
Yeah.
Oh, can't imagine the stomach bug.
Yes.
With him as with my child as an adult who's 8 right now.
Mhm.
So, I do want to point out that this presentation will be available on YouTube as well as the Parenting Autism United website, along with some picture schedules that parents can print out or download to their phone or computer. And they can be completely used as custom materials. You can add your own stuff to them, like your kids' names or whatever. But they could also just be used generally and shared through, you know, text message links, email with your team, whoever's working with your children, or who, if you're working, if you're a therapist and you're working with the family, you can easily share those with the family. If you're a teacher, you could share it with your students' families, and, you know, help parents get the resources that they need that they didn't know existed.
Mhm.
And we all know, send it to their phone.
Mhm.
Everyone has their phone in their hand. So this will all be updated, and I just appreciate Miss Brooke for coming the second time around. We will be posting the original training as well as this one before the week is over. It will definitely be on YouTube. I'm still working on learning how to do the website
Okay.
with our website tech who's getting married in Italy this year. So I'm trying to learn before she goes.
Exciting.
Yeah. And next month we have another topic. We're going as the child grows, both physically and developmentally. Do you remember the first topic? I think it's socially isolating
Yes.
behaviors,
And
right?
hygiene.
And hygiene,
Mhm.
yes. Big, big stuff. So thank you all for coming, and be on the lookout for the information and let us know how it's working for you. We will be touching back with Miss Brooke within a month, obviously, and we can answer those questions specifically. So send us a message or an email, and we'll get you connected and give you some more ideas. So it doesn't look like there's any questions. So we're
No.
going to let you guys go for the night.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
Oh. So we are going to stop share. Hi, Joelle. And we're going to go ahead and end. Oh,
I don't know if that's the same thing as stop
Yeah.
share. Okay.
stopped recording. Okay, we're going to end it now. That's
Right.
okay.
Okay.
When we end it, it'll stop. Think end meeting for all. Bye.